Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Well, good morning and welcome to Tampa Home Talk. We're glad you're here. And if you were listening on the coming up segment, we were discussing all about 9 things that you can do to your home that are small little updates that will actually have the biggest impact on your home. Now, whether you are planning to sell your home or you love where you live and you don't plan to move, we are going to give you some incredible ideas this morning on how you can love where you live. And without further ado, my co-host is joining me this week, one of them.
Good morning, everybody. This is Adam Talley with Talley Insurance. Good to be here.
And our partner, Miss Kim, our go-to home stager for Tampa Home Talk. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Kimberly Bridges with The Flipped Room. And my never on air before brother-in-law, Mr. James Madewell. Welcome.
Well, good morning, everybody.
You excited to be on the air,
Can't hear
James?
those guys at all.
Yes, I am.
It's a new experience for you there.
Yeah, it is. A little bit too.
So, this whole topic kind of came about because I was thinking, oftentimes we are with customers and
Now she went down.
basically we listen and I'm sorry, Pat's talking to me, which you guys can't hear on the air, but we think about all these things when we go in, we talk to a seller and we're actually preparing them for their home sale. And so we go through and we look and see, okay, what would have the biggest impact on this particular home if we were to put it on the market? What's going to bring the biggest, highest possible value for the seller, right? So again, whether you love where you live or you just want to spruce it up a little bit, these will be some little tips to basically help you spruce up your home. And so one of the first ones we're going to talk about, we just did on a property, right, Kim?
Yes.
And so this particular property, we'll just use it as an example today. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So basically the kitchen, well, the seller, let me back up. The seller gave us about a $10,000 budget to bring the home up to par, to get it ready. That included any repairs. There was a few things that had to be repaired or replaced before we went in.
Now, is that common? Do you recommend if somebody's coming to you to sell to have some cash ready to spend?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of the first questions we always ask our sellers. In fact, Adam, is what is your listing budget? And you would be surprised how many people kind of look at me like I have two heads when I ask them that question.
Is it a percentage that you recommend for people to kind of hold back, or just, maybe like a round number like 10,000 where it's, you can probably fix a few systems if you need to, or...
I wish it was that easy of an answer, but the truth is it's not that easy at all. Mm-hmm. And it actually depends on how much the seller has updated and maintained their home, right? If we go in and there's a ton of deferred maintenance.
You walk in the kitchen, you're like, oh, I can't sell this thing.
Well, that's an update though, right?
Yeah.
But deferred maintenance, meaning like there's little trees growing out of the gutter, right? Would be a prime example.
Yes.
Many of those things that I probably have around my own home, in all honesty. But the way you sell your home and the way you live in it are totally different. And so if there's deferred maintenance, that's the first thing that we're going to address ahead of anything else. Because if the home doesn't show well and it doesn't look amazing, it's going to be really hard to get the buyer inside the home. And I know Kim is going to share on this firsthand because her and her other half are actually in the middle of a home purchase themselves. And we've been looking at it. So it'll be fun to hear her perspective. But one of the things we're going to talk about, because we did this on Lakeview, was if the cabinets are in good shape. Mm-hmm. People think just because it's dated and it's ugly, you have to rip out the whole kitchen. And that's just not so.
No, that's not true. There's multiple ways you can address it.
Let's talk about some ways where, and I don't even know, what's the average kitchen cost these days? I know that's a really loaded question, but the average home is probably 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, then you're looking at about $12,500 to $18,000
if
you were to pull them and replace them and get a nice countertop in.
So depending on what they pick, the finishings, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So if someone were, let's say, okay, I don't have $10,000 or $12,000, but I want to make a big impact on my home so that it shows well. And that, or I just want it to feel better, right? I don't want to walk into 1980 or 1990 anymore in my kitchen. What are some of the things that people can do to update it, and what's an idea of the cost?
The two major ones would be to do a door replacement. Bring the doors from the old flat panel door to a new door style that is either the shaker or the raised panel.
So let's just describe real quickly what a shaker is for the person listening.
A shaker door style is basically a frame door with a recessed middle panel. So it's a very clean, sleek look.
They look more of like the craftsman style, old school kitchens kind of come back.
Correct.
And then the other styles?
There's a raised panel. Very similar to your interior doors that are redone all the time. They have a 6-panel door, and it sort of matches your interior doors throughout the house.
Those came into play, what, about 90s, 2000s, somewhere
I would
around
say
there?
so, early 2000s.
Yeah, so, I mean, those are still, I think, they're going to be around for a little while.
Oh, yeah. No, because it does match your home, so it flows well through the kitchen or through the rest of the house.
So those are some of the biggest things, and a lot of times, we will pair that door update with a refinishing on the countertops, and we'll talk about that with another guest that's coming up a little bit later this hour. So what's the key things that somebody needs to know, James, if they're gonna basically do a little update versus a full change on the cabinets? In general, what are you looking for when you go into that kitchen?
Well, we just really want to make sure that the cabinets are structurally sound because when you do the walkthroughs and the warranties, people don't want to see cabinets that are on the interior dilapidated. So you have to make sure it is a good candidate for just a door replacement or a refacing, which would entail changing the color. Sometimes the least expensive way would be just a set of doors if you already have a white cabinet or a light almond cabinet, and you can just buy a set of doors, which is considerably less than refacing the entire kitchen.
So if someone has like that Formica from the 80s, right?
Correct.
Like that old brown, if they have that and it looks basically like not anything we've seen in the last 10 or 20 years.
Correct.
What do you do with that?
That one's pretty much going to be a reface completely with new doors and new skins on the outside of the cabinet, as long as the insides are still structurally sound, specifically under the sink areas where one may or may not have water damage that has to be addressed.
And that's something you guys do, too. You can also replace that bottom piece.
You can replace the section. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to replace the entire kitchen.
So the refacing and the new skins, describe for the person listening what that is.
Well, basically, we go in and you leave the existing cabinets in place. They are totally emptied out, and we relaminate them on site. It's about a 2 to 3 day process. You'll put new hinges on it so all the doors work properly.
I don't even know the answer to this. I'm going to ask the question. Are you guys taking the cabinets off doing that, or are you doing it there at the house?
Doing it in the house as they sit right now, already installed on the walls, already in place. Wow. It works very well for folks who have already invested in a granite countertop and don't want to pull the granite and take the chance of damaging the granite. So it's also a good idea to do if you have granite and you just want to facelift it. So you leave it in place and work around what's existing. How
often do you see somebody actually put that granite on top of the, and they still leave the old cabinets and the old doors?
More than you would imagine.
Really?
Yes. Yes. People go in and they say, oh, the least expensive or quickest update is a countertop, which is true to some degree, but if it's sitting on top of the cabinet, you've limited yourself of what you can do down below. So technically, if one wanted to update the kitchen, you would always start with the cabinets, followed by the countertops if you were replacing.
Right.
Okay,
so it's a third-generation cabinet shop.
Correct.
Right? It's been there for how many years?
Since the 70s.
So basically, your grandpa started it.
Correct. And we've been there 79, and I've been there myself since 84.
Wow.
So we've done quite a few homes in the area. I've seen a lot of different items, both commercial and residential.
Like it or not, you're stuck like Chuck, right?
Yes, that's it. This is it.
It's cool, though, because there's just so many different things you can do. And with you guys being there for so long, one of the things I want to mention is you build custom stuff.
Correct. Custom track, commercial, residential, it doesn't really matter. Anything that has to be done in the cabinetry world, whether it's bathrooms, kitchens, office complexes, things of that nature.
Especially if you have weird spaces like I do in my house, right?
Yes.
Now I have a question for you guys, and I don't know where to direct it, probably at both of you, though. But as far as on updating all these kitchens, are you still seeing a lot of all, like, white and gray? Is that still the favorite color pattern out there? Or are we getting away from
sort
that?
of trending down.
Okay.
I'm bringing in more creams, more of the warm coastal colors of the aquas and the teals, light blues, light tans coming into play. White is still classic, though, and very easy to deck around.
Yeah.
So.
And James is in the middle of those pain points himself because he's actually in the middle of a rebuild. So I know he can relate as good as anybody. You know, in the middle of replacing our own kitchen, I was there, so I'm probably like the worst customer ever. But we have this weird angle.
You're a hoverer where you're like, I don't know what you're doing there.
We had custom cabinets in there before, and we were going to lose so much space. And so I called James, I'm like texting him pictures going, please, can we fix this? So we ended up ordering this kitchen.
We'll have to get it when we come back. I think that's going to kill us.
They built a specific piece right in the bottom of this cabinet.
I like
All
that.
right, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We'll be back right after this break. Somebody will buy them.
Right.
So if you're going to spend $2,000 on a stainless steel appliance package, you probably going to get about $500 if you sell your old appliances, maybe $600.
If they still work.
If they work, exactly. Well, I'm playing devil's advocate, right?
Exactly.
Saying that they actually work. So one of the things that gets overlooked so much, right? And this is like a little pet peeve. And Kim, you can talk on this because, again, you're right in the middle of this process now. But when people go the extra mile to make these updates, to make these changes, and they don't want to do a deep clean before they put their home on the market.
That's so important. No one wants to walk into someone else's dirt. And it doesn't matter how beautifully updated your home is. If it's not clean, then people are going to walk right back out, especially with smells. You know, whether you have pets or smoke or whatever, get those smells out.
People are uber sensitive to that stuff.
Yes.
I find very often. All right, give me an example of a couple of the properties. I'm a little bit jaded to the process, not you, because you're looking in homes. You're seeing it from a buyer's perspective right now. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on, like, tell me some things you've seen in homes recently that you're like, gosh, I didn't do that.
A dirty bathtub. Just, that just grosses me out. I'm thinking, okay. And really, mentally, I'm done at that point. Yeah. It doesn't matter how great the house is. It's like, this house is not clean. I can't live here.
I literally had a buyer probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were walking through the house, and, everything looked pretty good. And they were actually, I think, considering it. And then they saw, like, men shaving in the master bathroom sink. And I think it kind of just did it for them.
Yeah, it does. You never know. It's the tiniest thing.
Yeah, the house is just not clean. So, all right, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We'll be back right after this break. Again, our off-air number is 813-377-2775. Just call or text that number, and we'll be delighted to get you connected with any of our guests. Now,
Katrina, wait, before you go any further, I know that you're trying to make your home more, palatable and want people to buy it. And my wife wants a new kitchen, and she's listening right now. So how much value does a pontoon boat in the driveway add to the increased value of the home?
Pat, this show would not be the same without you. I'm just saying. It would not.
I told her that a pontoon boat in the driveway would look much better than a new kitchen.
I don't know, Kim, you're a prospective buyer. What do you think?
I'm going to go with the kitchen. Sorry, Pat.
How about if we put a kitchen
in the pontoon boat?
Right, like I put my hot dog cart on the pontoon boat.
I don't know. That's a positive, I think.
You could probably roll out to the islands, Pat, at the latter part of the afternoon when everyone's out of alcohol in your hot dog cart.
and make money.
And I can put it in a kitchen.
Right.
There you go.
They do have a snow cone guy that drives around Beer Can Island now.
I'm telling you, I had that idea a long time ago, like hanging out on the boat in the island in the afternoon. Everyone's out of beer, everyone's out of stuff, and they're like, oh, dang, if somebody could just bring me the beer.
Yeah.
But you're on an island, there's nothing around. All right, today's show is all about 9 small updates for a huge value on your home. A lot of the things that we're talking about today are things that we do, some all or part. as we're coming in, getting a home ready for the market. My job is to bring the seller the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of headaches. And that's what we intend to do on every single listing that we take. And again, one of the things we talk about is what's your listing budget to do some of these things. And that's how we choose what's going to be the best return on your investment. Now, if you've missed the show so far, all of it goes to our YouTube channel. It goes to a podcast. It's online, Facebook Live, all of that sort of stuff. But number one, we were talking about do little mini kitchen updates, right? Like change the doors on the cabinets. The matching stainless steel appliances, that's a huge thing to add when you're updating your kitchen. And then we also talked about deep cleaning. That was number 3 on the list. Make sure that you deep clean your home. One of my biggest pet peeve when I go into a home or otherwise is seeing dirty baseboards. Like it just shows that the home just hasn't been cleaned. Why are you looking at me like that? You have dirty baseboards, Adam?
No, I hate dirty baseboards. I have one of those hand vacuums so I can like go along the baseboards.
You don't wipe it down with like a wet rag?
Well, vacuum it. It's fine.
Well, that segues perfectly into our next guest, which is joining us. I have actually personally used him for a very long time. We recommend him many, many times to our clients, and have Mr. Rich Nation with Nations Cleaning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And before I forget, let me give you a quick little shout out. So his daytime gig, he does a rock star bang up job on carpet flooring. We're going to talk all about that. But he turns into a different person at night.
Yes. Drumming with my band.
He is a drummer for the band Jaded, and we usually see him pretty often. He'll be at Ukuleles tonight.
That's right.
In Land O'Lakes after what time, Rich?
8 o'clock start.
So they do a lot of cover type stuff, but really, really, really good.
Journey, Bon Jovi, that kind of thing. So got great musicians. It's a passion, keeps me young, even though I'm getting older by the minute.
If you're in just for a good time, want to have a good night out, go check Rich out this evening at Jaded. He'll be at Ukuleles.
That's right.
And so let's talk about the flooring, because this is another thing that's kind of, it's right up there with the dirty baseboards. But many, many times we need to either clean or replace the floors. And so, depending on what your budget is, many times carpet.
I was about to say, if it's carpet, do you just get new carpet and call it a day?
A lot of times. But you would be surprised what this man right next to you, Adam, can clean.
Yeah, in fact, I probably can't get it online, but I could show you, as I always carry my phone, so I have my little, look what I can do photos.
And
look how dirty that carpet was, and look what I did with it.
Oh, my goodness.
That's incredible. It's a different color.
Kind of gross, the carpet beforehand, though.
Wow. Let me show our Facebook watchers that are checking it out. Now, look at this carpet. Let me get a little bit closer here so you can see. So I'll just describe what we're looking at here. This carpet is literally, after it's clean, it's beige. It literally looks gray.
Yeah.
There's that much dirt in it.
Yeah, I'm not going to name who my customer is, but I do her frequently, and she knows that I tell her when she calls me, she goes, I am the customer with the dirtiest carpet you've ever done.
Is it true?
It's true.
Okay.
And I have a special blend of chemicals that I use, whereas I use a chemical by Prochem. It's called Heavy Artillery, of all names. And
apparently it works.
Yeah, it's a really strong, high alkalinity cleaner, and it's supposed to be diluted with water.
A lot of love and feedback on that one, Rich.
Well, usually I do a lot of you dilute it with water, but I use OxyClean as the mix to dilute the chemical with, and it's an organic cleaner, and the other is not. So it handles a lot of broad types of dirt, and obviously, and I use a truck-mounted system, which is also important. You got to have that kind of power and extraction. So
we see less and less carpet these days.
Oh, yes,
homes.
yes.
But one of the things he does as well is, but he also cleans tile and grout.
Yes, I do.
And let me tell you something. There is a lot to be said for the tile when it's clean, and you go in, the grout lines literally change colors just like the carpet did.
No, that's something.
Yes.
That's
exactly like this right here. Look at that.
Yes, that's crazy.
That's how dirty some of those floors are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen plenty.
And look at this. If the grout lines are this dark, I'm actually pointing at the wrong camera. Sorry, you guys. I forget that's that one up there. But the grout lines literally look black, and they're, in fact, beige.
Yeah, they actually are beige. Sometimes I don't know what the only way you can tell is like when you go into the kitchen, like you're talking about, up underneath the counter, you have that little 2-inch space where nobody's been typically. And you can tell the actual color of the grout.
Is that where you start, Rich?
No. Well, what I do is I spray all the grout lines down. And I have 2 or 3 different chemicals I go to. If one's not working, I'll switch to the other one. And then I have a grout line brush that I brush all the grout lines out. It sits about 15, 20 minutes, and then I bring in a hub that has 2 jets that spin underneath it, turn my machine up to 1,500 PSI, 200-degree water, and it blasts it out, all the chemical and all the dirt, back into my machine outside. Then I mop up and let it dry.
Is that also mounted on your truck?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's incredible.